The word genocide brings to mind the well-known horrors of the Holocaust, Rwanda, and even Armenia. Yet, history has recorded numerous atrocities aimed at exterminating a certain group of people which have gone unnoticed and slipped under the radar. One such atrocity is that committed by Pakistan against the people of Bengal. Despite the fact that these atrocities resulted in the death of over 3 million people, till today only a few nations have recognised it for what it is: genocide. Welcome to Unveiled History. Following the partition of British India in 1947 into two independent states, the newly formed state of Pakistan became embroiled in another struggle almost immediately. At the time, Pakistan was made up of two territories known as West Pakistan, which is today's Pakistan, and East Pakistan, which is today's Bangladesh. Both sides were separated by more than 1,000 miles of Indian territory. Due to the fact that most of the ruling elites immigrated westward, West Pakistan was chosen as the country's political centre. But it wasn't just the geographical distance that separated both territories. They were also separated economically and politically. The authorities in the West regarded the people of the East, who were predominantly Bengali, as inferior both culturally and religiously. They felt that there were elements of Hindu influence within the Bengali language and culture. As a result, they made repeated efforts to eradicate these perceived influences. Economically, East Pakistan was also at a disadvantage. Between 1947 and 1970, the East received only 25% of the country's industrial investment and 30% of its imports, despite the fact that it produced 59% of the country's exports. In 1948, Governor-General Ali Jinnah declared Urdu as the national language of Pakistan, despite the fact that it was only spoken by 4% of the population. There were calls from the people of Bengal to make Bengali a second language, but these calls were ignored. All of these created tensions and led to the formation of the Awami League, founded in the East as an alternative to the Muslim League in the West. The East had begun to feel that their interests would be ignored. The tensions between both sides came to a head in November 1970, when the powerful Bola cyclone hit East Bangladesh. Despite having more resources, the West offered a sluggish response to the disaster, resulting in the death of over 300,000 people. The response was what influenced the results of the national elections the following month. Led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the Awami League of East Pakistan won the December 1970 elections, but the West Pakistani army refused to hand over the reins of government to them. The president at the time, Yahya Khan, banned the Awami League and declared martial law. On the 22nd of February 1971, General Yahya Khan is reported to have said, "Kill 3 million of them and the rest will eat out of our hands." The response of the West promoted tensions between the Bengalis and the Biharis, the Urdu-speaking people who had migrated to the East. The Biharis were seen as pro-West, leading to attacks by the Bengalis on some of the Bihari communities. Using the violence as an excuse, the Pakistani army launched Operation Searchlight on March 25, 1970, to the growth of nationalist sentiments in the East. The purpose of the operation was to arrest and kill the distinguished Awami League leaders, student leaders, and Bengali intellectuals in the main cities of East Pakistan, especially Dhaka. Targets of the operation included Jagannath Hall, which was a dormitory for non-Muslim students of Dhaka University, Rajabag police lines, and Pilkhana, which is the headquarters of the East Pakistan Rifles. The Bengalis tried to resist for as long as they could, but they were eventually overpowered. About 34 students were killed in the dormitories of Dhaka University. Neighbourhoods with the Hindu majority were also attacked. According to Robert Payne, an American journalist, about 7,000 people were killed that night and over 3,000 were arrested. Sheikh Mujib, leader of the Awami League, was also arrested that night. This operation was the beginning of the 9-month conflict that would eliminate about 3 million Bengalis. The Pakistani army recruited local pro-Pakistan Bengalis and non-Bengalis, including members of the Islamic organisation Jamaat al-Islami, for its operations against Bengali factions. The pattern of assaults included both large-scale, targeted killings and more generalised violence as a part of counterinsurgency. One of the targeted killings was the murder of Bengali intellectuals. During the first few days of the conflict, a number of professors from Dhaka University were killed, but the most extreme cases of targeted killings of intellectuals took place during the last few days of the war. Reportedly, the Pakistani army had made a list of Bengali intellectuals, including doctors, teachers, poets, and scholars. Then, they rounded them up, blindfolded them, and took them to torture cells in different sections of the city where they were executed en masse. According to the reports, an estimated 991 teachers, 13 journalists, 49 physicians, 42 lawyers, and 16 writers, artists, and engineers were killed by the Pakistani army during the course of the conflict. In memory of the scholars killed during this period, the 14th of December is observed in Bangladesh as the Day of the Martyred Intellectuals. Rape of Bengali women was another atrocity committed by the Pakistani army and its allies. During the course of the 9-month conflict, about 200,000 to 400,000 Bengali women were raped. The imams and religious leaders of the West had declared that Hindu women could be taken as the booty of war, so rape was openly supported. Women were caught, tortured, raped, and killed. Among the rape accounts documented was that of a 17-year-old Hindu bride that was gang raped by Pakistani soldiers. According to the account, 2 of the soldiers went into the room that had been built for the bridal couple, while others stayed behind with the family. Members of the family heard a barked order, followed shortly by the groom's protest. Then there was a silence until the bride screamed. In a few minutes, one of the soldiers came out, his uniform in disarray. He grinned at his companions. Another soldier took his place and so it went until all 6 had raped the belle of the village. When they left, the father found his daughter lying on the string cot, unconscious and bleeding. Aside from gang rapes, the Pakistani army also kept Bengali women as sex slaves inside the Pakistani army's camps. Many of them became pregnant, giving birth to thousands of war babies. Some of the women died in captivity or committed suicide, while others moved to India after the conflict ended. In addition to the murder of Bengalis, the Pakistani army also carried out large-scale assaults on Hindus. The Hindus were alleged to have corrupted the Awami League. According to reports, Pakistani soldiers repeatedly boasted to US Consul Archer Blood that they came to kill Hindus. In the first 24 hours of the crackdown, the Pakistani army methodically slaughtered Hindu men in Bengali cities. The army would enter different villages asking where Hindus live. Hindus were easily identified because they were not circumcised. In most cases, only Hindu males were killed, but occasionally the army also raped and killed Hindu women. Among the documented incidents in which Hindus were massacred in large numbers include the Jathabanga massacre, the Chuknagar massacre, and the Shankiripara massacre. This widespread violence against the Hindus was motivated by a policy to purge East Pakistan of what was seen as Hindu and Indian influences. The world at large was well aware of the violence happening in Bangladesh from the time Operation Searchlight was launched. As early as March 1970, Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had termed the attack genocide. In addition to this, Blood, the American Consul General in Dhaka, and Kenneth Keating, the US Ambassador to India, both called on US President Nixon to discontinue their support of the Pakistani regime. But both diplomats were ignored and the American Consul General Blood was recalled. The reason for this was that President Nixon viewed Pakistan as a Cold War ally and refused to condemn its actions. From the White House tapes, the president seems to be making sure that the distrusted State Department would not, on its own, condemn Yahya for killing Bengalis. But besides refusing to condemn the actions of Pakistan, the US also secretly provided weapons to Pakistan and used Pakistan as a gateway to open diplomatic relations with China. A collection of documents also revealed that President Nixon, advised by Henry Kissinger, decided to downplay the actions of Pakistan because he wants to protect Pakistani interests as he was apprehensive of India's friendship with the Soviets. So, not only did the US refuse to condemn the attacks, but it also secretly supported the massacre of millions of people. The atrocities committed by the Pakistani army pushed Hindus and Bengalis to flee to India. Eventually, India decided to intervene in support of the Mukti Bahini, triggering the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. The conflict finally ended on the 16th of December 1971, when the joint forces of Bangladesh and India received the Pakistani instrument of surrender. Today, the three countries involved in the conflict have their own representation of what the conflict means. In India and Pakistan, the war is often remembered as the Third Indo-Pakistan War, but representation is resented by many Bangladeshis who feel it erases their role in what they see as a liberation war.